And Japan has been pushing to invest in AI at a time when some Western countries are looking to halt further development of ChatGPT, for example, and regulate the industry. Why is the administration so eager to adopt the tech in Japan?
Well, Japan is now losing population very fast. Every year, nearly 700,000 less people in Japan. So unlike European countries or other countries, AI, computer, robots are not a threat to labor force in Japan. Society in Japan is aging. So if we would like to continue human-centric society, we need to utilize those technologies like AI, robots, computer as much as possible. So we are more eager to try new AI technologies, provided that the data set will be honored. So we are now talking to Microsoft and other providers of the technology, how we can manage data set creation for AI.
And what's your take on the role AI can have on society going forward? Where could AI make the most impact in Japan?
We are hoping technology could replace where technology can do better. And the human being will need to be concentrating what human being need to be doing, most likely dealing with their people. So we are hoping to try in the government ministries. I'm asking all the ministries ideas how you can utilize AI technology to make their work more productive and more efficient. We are very excited to do that.
And on that note, do you still have ambitions to become Prime Minister? I have to ask.
Well, trying.
Okay. All right, last and not least at all, as a leader, what do you think is the one thing Japan needs most right now?
We need to energize the private sector. I think the private sector in Japan is sitting on a big amount of cash, and the private sector in Japan needs to use them wisely, invest them wisely. So we need to energize the private sector. We are not the socialist country. We are capitalist, market economy, free society. So we would like to energize the private sector.
I'm going to explain this to you guys, and then I'm of course kick it to the video. Brian did a really excellent job of giving a breakdown. It's actually like a ratio, if you will, right? And again, I just want to state this: none of this is financial advice. Please don't go too crazy with this. But one of the things was, that gets consistently brought up in the community is KPIs and so on. And Brian basically was trying to put it into context to break the whole thing down, show the whole, where this whole thing is kind of tricky, if you will. So, as he states, he says, as we know, KPIs are 107 million active PDL, personal data locker users, with data valued per capita at 500. Some have asked, if this is in US dollars. The roadmap uses the dollar symbol. So the answer, if you guys were wondering about this, is yes. Okay. And PDR of 16.7. Okay. If you're wondering about that, it's the price to data value ratio and the entire tokenomics of Jasmy and how it was created by, for example, Hara. When the founders created Jasmy, they had not considered adding a cryptocurrency to the value, the value of the data, and created a data trading marketplace, basically. Basically, according to Hara, this was an idea, which is why, as a CFO, You know, he has, for example, JASMY Labs and there's Janction and all this. But my main thing that really caught my eye, because I don't want to get into all of this word for word, was, you know, this price to data ratio and how it was created in order to give investors, listen to this, who are familiar with traditional markets and securities, a familiar way to help them evaluate the price of Jasmy coin. And the calculation of these this PDR requires the price of Jasmy and, of course, the circulating supply. Therefore, it is derived from those numbers and does not give a price target of 1787. Now, hear me out before you click off. Doesn't give that target of 1787 or any other number, but the PDR itself is simply a ratio that is similar to the price to book ratio used by investors for quantifiable analytics, of course, in what? Traditional markets. They had to have something to go off of, because this is something that was completely different that nobody's really, I guess you could say, done to compare it to anything, right? So this KPI target, 16.7 multiple for the PDR, was chosen because it is an average price to book ratio. That's what that stands for. And where does that come from? It comes from the Tokyo Mothers Exchange. I'm not going to get into a deep dive about that, but you can look more into that yourself. And that basically involves TradeFi investors who are familiar with the JPX and its sectors all the way back to like 2022. But it's the Tokyo Mothers that was the new growth stock sector, at least back then. There's, understood metrics, ratios in regards to the valuation of crypto assets like Jasmy coin, the context of broader financial markets. And it's basically, the bottom line is, it's a comparison that can help indicate whether a crypto asset is, of course, overvalued or even undervalued. And basically, how it's relative to traditional markets that exhibit, similar financial health or even growth potential. Now, this approach, okay, it basically aims to bridge the gap between valuation methods used in the crypto market and, of course, those established in, traditional securities markets and so on. Here's the problem, all right? If you're still with me, here's the problem. Cryptocurrencies are currently not valued this way. You need to pay attention to this. Please pay attention to this. Even if you are really tempted to talk to your broski about pogo sticks and Caroline, okay? The problem is cryptocurrencies are currently not valued this way. Hara himself verbally, I guess you could say, mentioned to Dip that they, can start getting the value or the market value of each KPI. It would be difficult to know about the PDR because no cryptocurrency in itself uses these type of ratios, guys, and these types of valuations compared to, of course, securities in those markets. In the explanation, he mentions the whole thing about, the market depth, the plus or minus 2% and the liquidity to value these specific coins. I'm not going to get too much into it, but your key takeaway is, should we like paper hand Jasmy at $2 or $3? I know it sounds nuts. I'm not going to give you guys any financial advice. It's not financial advice. I'm giving you a perspective breakdown to think outside the box, all right, with all this what was presented earlier, and especially understanding that it's like when you hear about some of these things, like, my God, the data value, 107 million users times, like, for example, $500 on the low end equals 53.5 million of total active users, and that data value is on the Jasmy platform. How much that could be worth? And talking about this roadmap and the max supply and 1787 and the lowest prices of those KPI targets, 1787 more than conservatively could be more than easily done. There's going to be a shakeout, guys. A lot of people are going to get shaked out at $1 or $3. And again, I understand there's a lot of people here that are going to be selling at 50 cents, a dollar, whatever the case be, because you don't want to wait. I get that. And that's going to happen. But can we achieve things like over $800 billion market cap, like twice what Ethereum basically is? That sounds crazy. Let's jump into this, and it's the recording. And I chopped it up for you guys to get right to the point. And I will give credit to Rob. I couldn't get it from the actual X space on X. When I went back to get the replay, none of the audio is working. And I'm like, oh God. So I had to get creative. So shout out to Rob, Crypto Future. You rescued me on this one. I went to your channel and I took it from your live stream because you live streamed the actual space. So I took the audio from there and I chopped it up and I got to the key parts because that thing was over 3 hours, right? So this is about, I think, about 17, 18 minutes. I know it's a little long, but it gets to the nitty gritty. This is what you guys have been waiting for. All right. Let's just play it, speak for itself. Instead of looking at a blank screen, I have a little B-roll, right? So hopefully you guys appreciate that. Let's go ahead and share it. Here we go. Let me see if it's on the list. I believe it is. Here it is. Yes, I got it. Please smash that like. This is the grand finale, where you want to call it, what you've been waiting for. Here we go. Hopefully you could hear it. I did turn up the volume. Here we go. Last Saturday, when we had the whole thing of the JASMY Roundtable, I remember seeing your, your DM, Brian, and, it was like morning time for me, right? Like way before the broadcast started with Rob and, Jesse, KIR Finance. And I had to kind of like wipe my eyes and like they kind of blew up when you mentioned the whole thing of like that KPI target of the 1787 being conservative.
So, real quick, so the KPI target, the KPIs are just the three numbers related to users, per capita, valuation of data, and then they have their own custom ratio that Hara created in order to help investors kind of value Jasmy coin against the total market cap of data they have on the platform. So there is no KPI for 1787. That was DIP's conservative calculation, just literally doing the math of the PDR, price to data value ratio. So since you can't use traditional TradFi ratios like price to earning or price to book, like there's no way to do that with Jasmy. Jasmy coin is valued specifically against, or intended to be valued specifically against, the total value of data from active users on the platform. So 107 million active PDL users, not ones who haven't activated their or aren't, participating in anything, just accumulating their data, but active users based on the verbiage they use. And it's a valuation of $500 per PDL of data on average per person. Some people may be 2,000, some people may be 100, who knows? But when you multiply 107 million times 500, that's when you have $53.5 million valuation for the total data. And that's where valuing Jasmy coin against it, Hara's ratio, the multiplier he used, the price to data value ratio of 16.7 is multiplied against that, which gives you an insane market cap of $853 billion for Jasmy coin, which I've kind of equated to as like, maybe it's like considered data under management, because you have all these PDLs spread across different companies, and they're those companies' customers, but the customers are storing their data within the PDL that's managed by the consortium blockchain. So it's a consortium of companies. So I kind of look at it, instead of like assets under management, that market cap would kind of represent a data under management, so to speak. So it's not like Jasmy, the company, can go sell their company for that amount of money. It just means that that's the total. It's meant to represent the total value of Jasmy coin. Now, if you have a market cap, that's all we have is like the market cap. We don't know what the circulating supply is or the price of Jasmy would be. So yeah, I know what you're getting at. I did have a chance to listen to a little bit of that video. I haven't gone back and finished your live stream yet. I've been slammed with that you, Rob, and Jesse were doing.
That's okay. You have a baby. You have family.
No, it's all good. I try to keep up when I'm at work. I have my headphones in sometimes, but yeah, the what you were getting at is that yes, that's the deflationary aspect of the actual tokenomics that's built into this. Is that one, if all 50 billion coins were counted into that market cap that they put out there with a PDR, like the multiplier 16.7 times the actual total value of data that's being held in PDLs, Well, then that gives you a price of 1787. However, based on Hara also recently confirming that in the original road map for Jasmy coin, when he says the market, he uses the word market. He doesn't say exchange. He says the market is the exchange in this recent AMA. So that would essentially mean that the estimates for circulating supply they showed in the original Jasmy coin roadmap would mean that they expect to only have 15 billion coins in circulation by the time the whole thing is up and running through staking to activate wallets, whatever other type of utility they find for Jasmy coin, because they're working on multiple angles. So that's all to be determined, right? Like, first of all, people used to say, hey, let's just get over a penny. We're over a penny. Let's just take it step by step and see how this thing plays out, because what he's trying to do is something that isn't done in cryptocurrency. Like, currently, crypto is only really valued by circulating supply, market depth, liquidity, etc. It's not valued the way TradFi is, where you have all these different ratios. You have historical benchmarks you can compare to other companies with a variety of ratios. He has mentioned that he wants to put out other ratios as well to help people further value Jasmy coin against the data marketplace, or however other ways. I just don't have any details on that, and I'd still like an answer from him. I know Dip is more dubious, like, with me going way too deep into thinking about that, but he put that number down. So I'm wondering why he chose that number for a PDR multiplier against that.
It's so good. The way I look at it personally is, a lot of people who are new to this space, they'll look at, and let's face it, a lot of people have done this probably from the beginning of their journey. They look at the price of the coin. I love the example you mentioned. I mean, even at where we're currently at, all right, Ethereum, you have a $400 billion market cap. So literally with what you're mentioning for the future of those projections, and I get it as we get more into this bull run, I mean, that would put Jasmy at a little over double Ethereum's market cap. I mean, guys, when we say things like, what is the all-time high for the coin, in reality, you should put more emphasis on what is going to be the all-time high or the current all-time highs as far as market cap perspective goes. When we almost touched 3 cents for Jasmy, as far as a market cap perspective, that was the all-time highs. So I'm glad that Brian's breaking that down and giving some of these perspectives. And you're right, I did read that DM that you had, Brian, where you were putting in those ratios and so on, as far as valuation and so on, and breaking that down. What did they have to go off of? Right, you're right. In regards to the whole thing of traditional finance, I've learned something recently from you that Dip also has a finance background. I also have a finance background, so I could respect that somebody like Hara, who has accounting background, is taking that all into account. But just real quick, back to the whole thing about what you were mentioning in regards to data. So on the low end, that $500, what was that, like, the average and so on. As we know, as this thing progresses and so on, we go to this layer 2. We talk about data sets and so on. One of the things I cover a lot is, the differences of data. I'm sure Dip and some of you other guys that listen to the program, I use this example all the time, and that is, the data valuation of a kid who's buying like a $1 skin or something off of Fortnite, right, or from a loot box. I mean, yeah, that has valuation, but you compare that to something like a large data set of, for example, medical data. That data set is we're talking about game changer. So all this stuff to take into account, I'm literally looking at it from the point of view of the industry disruptors. I think you used this term about maybe 20 minutes ago, Brian. The industry disruptors, I kind of look at Jasmy as being like the kryptonite towards something like Google. I know Gothic gets mentioned quite a bit, but I mean, Google's part of that mix, in which you have that concept of centralized data and, people who just freely gave it away, and they made an absolute fortune off of that data. To have Jasmy be a disruptor of that industry, and especially respecting the country of Japan and protecting, data privacy and so on. Yes, Dip is right. There's not a lot of examples of full utility or full utility in motion. I try to cover ones obviously like Stellar. You know, I feel big and bullish on, you know, the concepts of, you know, for example, MoneyGram and all this working together. But that concept of monetization and disrupting the centralized players, and then when you look at the bigger picture, where we're going, I think obviously Panasonic is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to see more of this snowball effect happen. But I don't think, honestly, you guys are too far off when it comes to these market cap predictions, if you want to call it that. When we talk about the bigger picture, you got to look at market cap. So anyway, I want to kick it back to whoever wants to take that. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
Of course, you don't have to say thank you. We're happy you're here. So yeah, the way I look at the PDR, I'm like, look, if there's no comparable company to compare it to, then it's worth nothing. Like, I think it's just something that, you know, Hara, coming from an accounting background, was like, okay, this is a fair way to do it to get traditional finance people on board. But it's also like, if there's no, you know, like, let's use tech companies as an example, like Samsung and Apple would be good, like somewhat good comparisons, because Apple also makes a lot of computers. I don't know too many people that have Samsung laptops. I think they exist, but you know, it's a tech company. But then, you know, these are all blockchain companies, which you can also say, oh, they're tech companies. Like, we're always going to look at whatever's in the future as being a tech company. But and then you also look at the specific ratio they're using, which is around data, and then how many companies are going to value themselves based on data, whether you use a publicly traded company on a stock exchange or a crypto company. Like, I can't imagine a company that's listed on a stock exchange even thinking about it this way, because they also might not want to divulge how much data they have. So that's also a problem. So like, I don't pay too much attention to it, to be honest with you. If we get to $500 of data per user, which Hara said they could get higher, and he seemed pretty confident, and we get 107 million users, which Hara again did seem confident, Jasmy is not going to go to 1787. It's going to go way higher than that. Like, if they can actually achieve those two things, like, I'm saying it's hard. I'm saying it's very hard. I also see a lot of people who are in crypto or in Jasmy, they'll be gone by 10 cents. They'll be gone by 20 cents. They're here to just flip. You know, the influencers who are calling for $3 and all that stuff, they're calling for those values because they didn't do a lick of research, but they also, it's high enough to bring retail money in so that they can dump on you at a much shorter price. Like, that's what they're doing, right? Like, but I think there's still a lot that has to be achieved, and I think if they can get to that level of utility, it's going to go way higher. Because you also look at, if you want to use the ratio, right? If you just use ratios in general, price to earnings, whatever, most tech companies, especially if they're in the newest and biggest and brightest industry, they trade for way above whatever would be deemed like quote unquote normal. Like, their industry average is going to be way above. So like, you know, when Apple was a growth company, it wasn't trading at like 20 times its price to earnings ratio. It was probably trading at 60, 70, 80. When Amazon was finally profitable, they were probably trading at over 100. Nvidia is probably at like 50, 60 right now, right? And those, you know, Nvidia right now is like one of the hottest tech companies out there, if not the, just checking my phone. Okay, so it's at 73, Nvidia, 2.2 trillion market cap and all that. And like, you know, that's how it's going to be. That's how it's always been. I expect that trend to continue because there's some people invest based on the potential growth opportunity. So like, they think, okay, well, this is the newest and biggest and brightest industry right now, so we expect it to grow further in the future. So that's why we're investing in it. That's why we're willing to pay, or quote unquote overpay. We don't see it as overpaying because we think this is still where the opportunity lies. So I think not only Jasmy will be like that, there will be other cryptocurrencies that are going to be like that, right? It's just, you know, this is a space about Jasmy, and it's Jasmy's birthday, so we're not going to talk about other cryptocurrencies. So,
yeah, that's one thing you and
yeah.
I have talked about before, Dip, is like a lot of people put way too much salt into market cap comparisons, especially when we're in the precipice of just a global change in terms of how everything is done from all these disruptive technologies. You know, you just look at 20 years ago, there weren't trillion-dollar companies. You know, the total global market cap, I think, has 4x'd since 2000, if I'm correct. I think it was around, it might have been 2x, but I thought I had 4x. I'd have to look up that number again, or at least in the peak of COVID, when everything kind of had a blow off top. Market caps are a bit dubious to say that they're unattainable or things won't go to that, so especially when you're looking at what exactly is Jasmy supposed to be valued on. Well, it's valued on data. Data is the oil for artificial intelligence going forward in the future. So that's why it's so important to understand that data will be one of the most important commodities of this entire century going forward. With all these companies, you know, AI is the hottest thing. I'm sure it's going to have an interim or short term blow off top until things really start to take hold and are really utilized in our everyday lives with agentic AI and embodied AI and robotic systems over the next 10, 15 years. But data is going to be driving all of that.
I just wanted to have that chopped up for you guys and present it to you. I think it speaks for itself. And it was really cool to obviously get into that discussion with Brian and also the one and only Dip Metaverse from that 8th year anniversary X Space. Like I said, guys, I mean, you know, the research speaks for itself. It was really nice to hear that perspective in regards to data valuation and have an idea about the future and so on, which is just absolutely nuts. I mean, what was mentioned in regards to, you know, the market cap and some of these valuations. I mean, you got to ask yourself, are you going to be paper handing Jasmy? I get a lot of people are going to be selling at, you know, 50 cents, $1 and so on. But, you know, for me, the way I look at it is I'm looking at the bigger picture of things. And that's why I've continued to do the deep dives and research all this stuff. Some of you guys ask what cold storage solution I use. I use this, and it is the Decent wallet. All right. I also, of course, have a ledger like this. All right. You can get a discount basically from going into the affiliate link, which is in all the live video descriptions and recorded and so on. And for the yahoos that are out there, they're like, this is just a shield. And, you know, Will Fix pointed this out, and it's a great point. Were you aware that you don't necessarily get a discount link just going straight to the site? No, you actually have to go through a platform like this. So how cool is that? You know, I don't think anybody's complaining about that. But anyway, use the link, get a discount. There's another one here. If you're the type of person you want to get one for you and your, you know, significant other, you can get 2 of them. They actually have another promotion, which is this, and I think this is cool. You can get an all-in-one card wallet plus backup card package. Interesting. I thought that was cool. And again, one of the main key things I like about the Decent wallet is not having to do the red tape of, you know, jumping through all the hoops for XDC and the custom folder. I mean, Edward Vincent can vouch on that. Some of you guys can too as well in regards to Ledger. That was a pain in the butt. You don't have that problem. You literally open up your phone, it's on your app, track everything that's going on, right? And, you know, saying goes, not your keys, not your crypto. You know the drill. Check it all out, though, if you wish to do so. It is truly the cold storage solution that I use for the most part. There's still some on Ledger that, you know, I kind of split it up on it and so on. So it is what it is. But if I have preference over one, I'm going with this one. A lot easier to use and so on. And some people, even to this day, still ask me which one I use.